going to be something in them by what you say that's going to melt something down in them and make them say, you know, I can't speak to them that way, or I can't say what I want to say right now because, you know what I'm saying, they so nice, you know what I mean? And so it'll turn away any kind of wrath, or turn away any kind of, you know what I'm saying, of somebody might wanting to rebuke you or something because, you know what I'm saying, they're going through a rough patch. And you got to realize that sometimes, you know what I mean, you don't know what somebody's going through. You know what I'm saying? Just because, you know, we have God, you know what I'm saying? And we're supposed to, regardless of what we're going through, you know what I'm saying, we're supposed to always shine. We should always show that love and that kindness. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's sometimes it's point, will you ever had something happen where you just had to forget about yourself, that somebody asked you to pray for them and you needed prayer yourself? You know what I'm saying? And you was going through something yourself, but when you looked at them and you realized and they asked you to pray for them, that they was in so much worse a condition than you were, you know what I'm saying? And you had to get yourself together and say, Lord, help me, because they need me to pray, and I need to have the right spirit. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Sister, first, and then brother.
I was stuck in the snowstorm, and my car got stuck in the snow. And these guys were standing over on the corner, right? And so I, you know, I'm twisting and turning, trying to get out of this situation that I'm in. So they came over and they asked me that I need some help. And at first I didn't want to let them help me, you know. But I started praying about it, and they start pushing. And then one said, well, you know, steer this way, steer that way. And I couldn't quite get what he was saying. So he said, I'm going to have to, you know, can I get in the car? And so I was scared to let him in, but, you know, I was praying all the time. And he got in the car, and the way he steered it and stuff, and they helped me get out of the situation. But I would have been sitting there if I, you know, if they didn't come help me, I would have been sitting there all by myself. You know, with no help.
So God knows, you know what I'm saying, when to intervene, you know what I'm saying, and sometimes, you know, God is intervening for us and we rejecting it, you know what I mean? So you got to know, you know what I'm saying, you know, when God is sending you some help, and that it's all right, you know what I'm saying, as being a child of God, to receive it, you know. And so they showed such great hospitality to these prisoners and to, you know what I'm saying, the guards and everything, you know what I'm saying. They showing this, you know, hospitalities and, you know, trying to get them warmed up and dried off and everything. And so in verse 3 it says, and when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on the fire, there came a viper out of the heat and fastened on his hand. Now, here is two things, you know what I'm saying? You can see that the Apostle Paul was not lazy, you know?
Come on, come on, come on.
He was not lazy, you know what I'm saying? You can see that, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, when the scriptures say whatever your hand finds, I mean, when, you know, they taught you when you give that fellowship, you know, right hand fellowship when you come to church or whatever, and, or, you know what I'm saying, they tell you that, you know what I'm saying, whatever your hand finds to do, you know what I'm saying, you're free to do it or whatever. You know, Paul was not a lazy man, you know what I'm saying, and he gained his thing by work because he was a tent maker, you know, and so we can see here that Paul was not lazy, you know what I'm saying. So Paul is gathering these sticks, you know what I'm saying, to help, you know, to put in the fire, you know what I'm saying, to build up the fire. So he's working, you know what I mean, and imagine, you know, all these people on there, you know what I'm saying, watching Paul, you know what I'm saying, throughout the whole ordeal, from the time that they was in the ship, to the time when Paul mentioned about, you know, that if they all stay on the ship, that no souls will be lost, and anything, if they had to listen to Paul in the first place, when Paul told them not to have left that island, that they should stay here, you know what I'm saying, until that winter season was over, they would have never been in this predicament. But because they didn't listen, you know what I'm saying, they were stuck with this. Paul, you know what I'm saying, received a word from the Lord by an angel, you know what I'm saying, that spoke to Paul and let Paul know that, you know what I'm saying, none of the souls will be lost. But they had to stay on that ship. You know, they couldn't get off that ship. You know, where they, even when we read our last week lesson, where they didn't eat, they fasted, they were so scared and they were so afraid or whatever. But Paul encouraged them and reassured them to the point where they began to eat. And Paul took and they took after. So you know what? It's always important to be a light. the Bible says that, you know what I'm saying, that we are as a light that sit on the hill that can't be hid. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? And other men, you know, look for this light. So people is looking for something out of us. You know what I'm saying? That Jesus was speaking there, and he was saying, you know, in other words, you know what I'm saying, people are watching you and they're looking at you. You know what I'm saying? And so, and if we children of God, you know, people of God, you know what I'm saying, we can draw them, you know what I'm saying, by the love of God that's in us. So it's always good, you know what I'm saying, to you know what I'm saying, to be kind and to be you know what I'm saying, and to treat people with respect, because we see how they treated these people with respect. Not only did they treat it, you know what I'm saying, the guard and the dude that was in charge taking these prisoners to Rome, but they treated all 276 people, you know what I'm saying, with kindness and with courteous, you know, and saw to that they needs, you know. And so Paul, you know, he's helping, you know, because, you know what I'm saying, he's serving. So you look at here, and when we speak about ministry, you know what I'm saying, we see Paul doing his job. That's right. You know, just as well as when Paul persecuted the saints, and when he was doing his job with them, he did his job with the fullness, with everything that was in him, within his heart. And even to the point where Paul says, as touching the law, I was blameless. You know what I'm saying? He was blameless. But once he had that Damascus Road experience, you know what I'm saying, and with Christ, you know what I'm saying, he had his whole heart into, you know what I'm saying, preaching and being a minister of the gospel. And so we see that ministering is not always preaching. Come on. That's all I'm trying to tell you. It's not always about up here. Woo. It's not always about preaching. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes ministering is just saying a kind word to somebody. You know what I'm saying? Making somebody feel better. Maybe just holding their hand. Maybe just giving them a hug. You know what I'm saying? It's all ministry. You know what I'm saying? Serving. That's all ministry is. It's just serving. You know what I'm saying? Jesus, you know what I'm saying, our greatest example, you know, how he ministered. You know what I'm saying? His 3 years, you know what I'm saying? He ministered, you know what I'm saying? And how, you know, he served the people, you know? And he didn't just serve, you know what I'm saying, his disciples. He served the people. Look at the case where, you know what I'm saying, he fed the 5,000 one place and the 4,000. Look at how he served. How he said, well, you know what I'm saying, how many, you know, do we have any food? And they brought those fishes in the loaf, and how he multiplied it. Yes. Look at what God does, you know what I'm saying, in the midst of situations. You know what I'm saying, in the midst of storms. Glory. You know, in the midst of confusion, and in the midst of, you know what I'm saying, when we don't understand, you know what I'm saying, why this is happening in our life. All we have to do, you know what I'm saying, is put God first. You know what I'm saying? And allow him to work it out for us. Stop trying to work it out. That's what our problem is. Yes. We're always trying to work it out. When it gets to be too much for us and impossible, then we want to give it to God. But why not give it to God in the beginning? You know what I'm saying? And don't rush into, you know, you trying to handle it yourself. Just wait on God.